Okay, so ready to dive into something kind of interesting?
Always.
All right, so this masterclass script we found claims it can get you to advanced English fluency
Oh, wow.
in just 1 hour.
Okay.
Pretty bold claim, right?
Yeah, an hour to fluency.
Yeah, so we're going to break it down, see if it lives up to the hype.
That's good.
You know, maybe you're someone who's prepping for a presentation or just brushing up on your English skills. Or maybe you're just curious about language learning hacks. Whatever your reason, we're going to dig into this script, see what it offers.
Unearth those nuggets.
Exactly. Unearth the nuggets, see what it really has to offer.
Yeah.
And what I thought was interesting is right away, it kind of skips the usual grammar drills and vocab lists.
Right.
It jumps right into like the practical stuff, how to sound more confident, how to adapt to different situations, really just connect with your language.
I like that. That's a good approach.
Yeah, I thought so too.
It's very practical.
Yeah, and one of the first things it encourages you to do is use contractions naturally.
Oh, okay.
You know, like saying, I've done it differently instead of, I would have done it differently.
Yeah.
Simple, but it makes your speech flow better, I think.
Absolutely. Yeah, it does.
And that leads right into this idea of connected speech.
Right.
You know, the script points out how native speakers often link words together.
Right.
So, for example, what do you want to do becomes what I want to do.
Yeah, exactly.
It might feel a little awkward at first,
Yeah.
but it's a key to sounding more natural.
Yeah, I agree.
So I can see how that would take some getting used to, especially if you've been trained to pronounce each word carefully.
Absolutely.
But I can also see how it would make you sound more like a native speaker.
For sure.
Now, the script also doesn't shy away from some challenging vocabulary either.
Oh, okay.
So there are words like ephemeral, resilient, ambivalent, even ostentatious and serendipitous.
Wow.
Do you think they chose those words for a specific reason or just trying to impress people?
Well, I think it's a mix of both.
Okay.
Because, expanding your vocabulary is important.
Right.
But they are carefully chosen to be kind of memorable.
Yeah.
And impactful. Like they use ephemeral to describe a sunset.
Oh, right.
It kind of helps you grab the meaning of the word.
Yeah.
But then also appreciate the nuances of it.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
It's not just about sounding smart. It's about using the right words to express yourself clearly.
Exactly.
And speaking of colorful language, they've also included some idioms in this.
Okay.
Things like burning the midnight oil, bite the bullet on the same wavelength.
Right.
Are those common idioms that someone might encounter in everyday conversation?
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
Idioms can be tricky because their meaning isn't always clear.
Right.
But they add so much personality and cultural flavor to your English.
Like on the same wavelength is a good way to describe clicking with someone.
Right, when you're just like, we get each other.
Yeah, exactly.
I like that one too. You could easily use that in conversation, whether you're networking or just hanging out with friends.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to something the script emphasizes quite a bit, pronunciation.
Right.
It's not just about saying the words correctly.
Right.
It's about intonation.
Yes.
Stress and rhythm.
That's where it gets really interesting.
Yeah.
They even point out how just changing the stress on a word can change the meaning entirely.
Yeah, like photograph versus photography.
Exactly.
Yeah, simple shift, but a world of difference.
A big difference.
It's amazing how much nuance there is to pronunciation.
For sure.
And the script actually encourages you to play around with it.
Oh.
They suggest you practice different sentences with rising and falling tones.
Oh, interesting.
To see how it changes the meaning
Yeah.
of what you're saying.
I like that. So pronunciation is definitely a key element of sounding more fluent.
It is, for sure.
But the script doesn't just give you these tips and leave you to figure it out on your own.
Right.
They actually try to tie it all together in a real-world scenario,
Okay.
a networking event.
Interesting. Okay.
And it's not just a generic script about exchanging business cards or whatever.
Right.
They've woven in those elements of fluency that we've been talking about. So they suggest starting with a confident introduction, but then using a more engaging question to spark a real conversation.
Ooh, I like that.
Something like, what inspired you to get into your field?
That's a good question.
Yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, it's open-ended, shows genuine interest,
Right.
and it avoids those typical small talk cliches.
Exactly.
So-
I like that question too. And they encourage you to build on that initial connection. Instead of just nodding and saying, that's interesting,
Right.
they suggest transitioning smoothly with a comment Or a question that shows you're actively listening.
Yeah.
Something like, that's fascinating. Have you considered expanding into other markets?
Oh, nice.
What do you think?
Yeah, I like that. It shows you're engaged, you're thoughtful. Yeah.
So this networking scenario is where they try to bring all the pieces together.
Okay.
It's where you can put those fluency techniques into practice.
Right.
But the big question remains,
What's it?
can you really achieve all of this in just 1 hour?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm a little skeptical about achieving complete fluency in such a short time.
Okay.
But the script does a good job of highlighting the most important areas to focus on.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think it gives you a taste of what's possible, and that's a valuable starting point.
So maybe it's more about giving you a framework, a set of tools and techniques that can help you continue to develop your fluency. It's like a jumpstart, not a complete overhaul.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, I think it succeeds in that.
Okay.
The script is packed with practical tips and exercises.
Yeah.
And even if it takes you more than an hour to master everything,
Right.
you can start implementing some of these strategies right away.
So it's not about instant fluency,
Right.
but about gaining valuable insights and building a solid foundation.
Exactly.
And speaking of building a foundation, I'm curious what the script says about practice and immersion.
Yeah.
After all, even the best techniques won't get you very far without consistent effort.
You're absolutely right.
Right.
Fluency is a journey, not a destination. You've got to immerse yourself in the language as much as possible.
Right.
Speak fearlessly.
Okay.
Constantly reflect and refine your skills.
So it's not just about completing the masterclass. It's about integrating these techniques into your daily life,
Exactly.
making English a part of your routine.
That's the key.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground in this first part of our deep dive.
We have
But there's much more to unpack.
lots more.
So stay tuned for part 2, where we'll explore even more tips and strategies for achieving advanced English fluency.
Looking forward to it. Welcome back. So last time, we were talking about how this script emphasizes practical skills over rote memorization.
Right.
We touched on connected speech, vocabulary building, even using idioms effectively.
Yeah.
But we left off on a bit of a cliffhanger.
Oh, yeah, pronunciation.
Yeah, that whole pronunciation piece.
The script suddenly turned into a vocal coach.
Right.
Yeah, urging you to pay attention to things like intonation, stress, and rhythm.
Exactly.
So I'm ready to dive deeper into those pronunciation secrets. Where do we start?
Well, we already touched on how word stress can completely change a word's meaning.
Right, like with photograph versus photography.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the script takes it a step further. It highlights sentence stress as well.
Oh, okay.
It shows you how emphasizing different words within a sentence can dramatically alter its meaning.
Okay, do you have an example?
Of course. So they use the phrase, I didn't say H.E. stole the money.
Okay.
Now imagine stressing each word in turn.
Right.
You could be accusing different people
Oh, wow.
or even denying the accusation entirely just by shifting the emphasis.
That's pretty powerful.
Yeah.
Like it adds a whole other layer of meaning.
Right.
Yeah, beyond the words themselves.
Exactly.
And then there's intonation,
Yeah.
the rising and falling tones of our voice.
Yes.
So the script suggests practicing with simple phrases like, I can't believe it. With a rising tone, that's amazing. With a falling tone.
Yeah.
Do those small changes really make that much of a difference?
Absolutely. Think of it like adding punctuation to your spoken words.
Oh, okay.
A rising tone at the end of a sentence can turn a statement into a question,
Right.
while a falling tone can express certainty, finality.
Okay.
It's crucial for conveying your meaning and sounding more natural.
So it's like adding emotion and emphasis to your words.
Excellent.
Is this something that people often struggle with when learning English?
It can be,
Okay.
especially for learners whose native languages have different intonation patterns.
Right.
But the good news is it's something you can improve with practice.
Okay, good.
The script even suggests recording yourself speaking
Oh, wow.
and listening back.
I know. It can be cringy.
It can be, but it's a great way to identify areas where your intonation might need a little work.
Yeah, for sure. I can see how that'd be helpful,
Yeah,
even if it's a little embarrassing at first.
that's a good tool.
So are there any other techniques that the script recommends for improving pronunciation?
Well, they suggest some interesting exercises,
Okay.
like repeating phrases while exaggerating the intonation and stress patterns.
So just really going over the top with it.
Yeah, it might feel silly, but it helps to really internalize the rhythm and flow of the language.
I'm all for silly if it works.
Me too.
Like a workout for your voice.
Exactly.
Thriller.
Another technique is called shadowing, where you listen to a native speaker and try to mimic their pronunciation and intonation.
Oh, interesting.
You can use podcasts, audiobooks, even movie scenes.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Like having a personal pronunciation coach right in your ear.
Exactly. Plus, it's a fun way to immerse yourself in the language.
And speaking of immersion, the script emphasizes that a lot.
Right.
It encourages you to surround yourself with English as much as possible.
Yes. Watch movies, listen to music, read books, chat with native speakers if you can.
Yeah.
The key is to make English a part of your daily life.
Not just something you study in a textbook.
Exactly.
You know, it's interesting they bring up immersion.
Yeah.
Because earlier when we were discussing those advanced vocabulary words, I was thinking, how often is someone really going to use a word like ostentatious in casual conversation?
Right.
But if you're immersing yourself in the language, you're bound to come across it in different contexts.
Exactly. That's a great point.
Yeah.
Immersion helps you absorb those nuances of the language in a way that just memorizing definitions can't.
Right.
You start to understand how words are used in different situations.
Yeah.
You develop a more natural feel for the language.
So immersion isn't just about practicing speaking.
Right.
It's about absorbing the language through listening, reading, and watching.
Yes, making it a part of your overall experience.
Okay, let's shift gears for a moment and revisit that networking scenario.
Right.
I'm curious to hear more about how they incorporate all these fluency techniques into that real-world situation.
Sure. So you remember that the scenario starts with a confident introduction,
Right?
but then they encourage you to move beyond the typical small talk. Ask a more engaging question.
Like, what inspired you to get into your field?
Exactly.
Yeah, I love that question.
It's a great way to show genuine interest
Right.
and start a more meaningful conversation.
What else do they recommend?
They suggest transitioning smoothly to related topics. Showing that you're actively listening and adding to the conversation. You might say something like, "That's fascinating. Have you considered expanding into other markets?"
Okay, yeah.
Keeps the conversation flowing, and it allows you to showcase your knowledge and insights
Right.
without being too pushy.
It's all about finding that balance
Yeah,
between being confident and being engaging.
for sure.
Not an easy feat.
No, it's not.
But this scenario seems to provide a pretty solid framework
It does.
for navigating those tricky social interactions.
Exactly.
Okay, so they've covered introductions, engaging questions, smooth transitions, even closing the conversation gracefully.
Right.
But can you really master all that in an hour?
Well, like we said earlier, fluency is a journey,
Right?
not a destination.
Yeah.
So while an hour might not be enough to make you a master networker,
Okay.
this scenario provides a valuable blueprint.
Right.
And you can adapt these techniques to other social situations as well.
So it's about taking those core principles, confidence, clarity, adaptability,
Yes.
and applying them to any interaction where
Yeah.
you want to communicate effectively in English.
Exactly.
And that brings us to the final section of the masterclass script.
Okay.
Remember those 3 key tips they emphasized?
Immerse yourself.
Speak fearlessly.
Reflect and refine.
Right. Those seem like pretty solid pieces of advice,
Yeah.
but what do they really mean by immerse yourself?
Right.
Are they talking about moving to an English-speaking country?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
While that would certainly be immersive,
Right.
there are plenty of ways to create an English-speaking environment wherever you are.
Okay.
You can watch movies and TV shows with English subtitles, listen to podcasts and audiobooks,
Right.
read news articles and blogs.
Okay.
Key is to find something you enjoy and make it a regular part of your routine.
So it's about making English a part of your everyday life,
Exactly.
not just something you study in isolation. Okay, what about that second tip? Speak fearlessly. That's easier said than done for a lot of people.
It is, yeah.
Any advice for overcoming that fear?
Well, the script encourages you to kind of reframe your thinking about mistakes.
Okay.
Instead of seeing them as failures, view them as opportunities to learn and grow.
It's about embracing the journey
Exactly.
and accepting that you're not going to be perfect right from the start.
Exactly. The more you speak, the more comfortable and confident you'll become.
Right.
Don't be afraid to seek out opportunities to practice,
Okay.
whether it's with a language partner, online communities, or even just talking to yourself in English.
Those are great suggestions.
Yeah.
Now, what about that last tip? Reflect and refine. What are some concrete ways that someone can put that into practice?
Self-awareness is key here.
Okay.
Record yourself speaking English, listen back to it.
Right.
take note of areas where you could improve.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's pronunciation, maybe it's grammar, maybe it's the flow of your sentences.
Right. Yeah.
The act of listening to yourself critically can be incredibly revealing.
For sure. And these days, there are so many tools to help you do that.
There are.
Like language learning apps often have recording features.
Mm-hmm.
And you can even find online communities that are dedicated to pronunciation practice.
Exactly. And don't underestimate the power of simply paying attention to how native speakers use the language.
Oh, okay.
Listen for those subtle nuances of pronunciation, intonation, and rhythm.
Right.
The more you observe and imitate, the more natural your English will become.
So it's about being a conscious learner.
Yes.
Actively seeking out feedback and working on those areas where you want to improve.
Exactly.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground in this second part of our deep dive.
We have.
We explored pronunciation techniques, the importance of immersion.
Mm-hmm.
We even revisited that networking scenario.
We did.
And we dug into those 3 key tips for continued learning.
Yes.
Immerse yourself, speak fearlessly, reflect and refine. Welcome back to the final part of our deep dive into this masterclass, the one that promises to unlock advanced English fluency in just an hour.
Yeah, big promises.
Huge. So we've unpacked a lot of those strategies.
Really?
We've experimented with pronunciation, even explored that networking scenario.
Yep.
Now let's step back, consider,
All right.
what are the real takeaways
Hey,
here?
what are the gems?
What can someone actually use to boost their English fluency?
Good question.
So it's been quite a journey, right?
It really has, yeah.
We've gone from those kind of building blocks of fluency, confidence, clarity, adaptability,
Right.
to some very specific techniques
Yeah.
like connected speech, mastering intonation, even sprinkling in some of those colorful idioms.
For sure.
I think we even played vocal coach for a while,
We did.
trying out some of those pronunciation exercises.
Yeah, that was fun.
It was fun. So as we wrap up, what stands out to you as the most valuable takeaway from this whole thing?
For me, it's the focus on practical application.
Okay.
This script doesn't just throw a bunch of rules at you.
Right.
It gives you concrete examples, it encourages you to experiment, and it even puts you in a real-world situation.
Yeah, like with that networking event.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's about taking those concepts and making them usable in your daily life.
Yeah, it's not about reaching some level of perfection.
Right.
It's about using the language to connect with others, to express yourself,
Yeah,
to navigate the world around you.
for sure.
And it reminds you that fluency is an ongoing journey.
It is.
It's not a destination.
Not at all.
You know, early on, I was pretty skeptical about that whole fluency in an hour thing.
Yeah, me too.
But I have to admit, this masterclass offers a pretty solid springboard for anyone who wants to improve their English.
Absolutely.
It gives you a taste of what's possible
Yeah.
and inspires you to actually take action.
For sure.
So for our listener who's been with us this whole time, taking it all in, what's the one piece of advice you would leave them with?
I would say don't wait for perfection.
Okay.
Just start speaking.
Right.
Embrace every opportunity to practice.
Yeah.
Even if it feels a bit awkward at first, every mistake is a learning opportunity.
That's true.
Each interaction brings you closer to fluency.
I love that. It's about taking those small steps,
Yeah.
being consistent, and celebrating those wins along the way.
Exactly.
And remember, you're not alone on this journey.
Not at all.
There are tons of resources out there, language learning apps, online communities, podcasts like ours,
For sure.
all there to support you.
Absolutely.
So find what works best for you. Stay curious.
Yeah.
Never stop exploring the language
I like that.
and have fun with it.
Yes.
Learning a language shouldn't feel like a chore.
No, it should be enjoyable.
It should be enriching.
Absolutely.
So embrace the challenges, celebrate your successes, and never stop trying to be the most confident and fluent version of yourself. That's a perfect note to end on. So thanks for joining us for this deep dive into English fluency.
It's been fun.
We hope you've gained some valuable insights.
Yeah.
And feel inspired to continue your own journey.
Absolutely. And now that you've heard all this, what's one area of your English fluency that you're going to focus on? Until next time, keep practicing, keep learning, and keep those language fires burning.
See you next time.
All right, so are you ready to dive in? Today, we're going to help you sound like, well, a natural English speaker.
Like you were born speaking it, right?
Exactly. And we're going to do that with a script.
Oh, a script. For what?
It's for a video for English language learners.
Cool. What's the topic?
Phrasal verbs.
Phrasal verbs. Those can be tricky.
Yeah, they can be, but this script, it breaks them down by learner level.
Yeah, that's helpful. So we can...
Yeah, so we'll sort of jump around, find the most interesting parts no matter what your level is.
Yeah, let's uncover the secrets of sounding natural and fluent.
Exactly. So I was looking at the beginner section, and it's funny how many...
Beginner section, okay.
Yeah, so, basic phrasal verbs. And some of them are so common we don't even think about them.
Like what?
Like get up. I mean, we all do it every morning.
It's true, we do. Or go to sleep. These are things we do every day.
Right. And even something like sit down. It's not just about taking a seat. It's like an invitation.
Yeah, it sets the scene. Like, sit down, dinner's ready. Or, please, sit down, make yourself comfortable.
Exactly. It adds a whole other layer of meaning.
And it's so natural.
And, another one that I thought was interesting is turn on and turn off.
Oh, yeah, we use those all the time.
Like turn on the lights, turn off the oven.
It's like we're constantly interacting with our world through these verbs.
And they often come in pairs, right?
Ooh.
With opposite meanings.
Learn one. You got the other one too?
Yeah. And another pair, put on and take off.
Oh, yeah. Clothes, shoes, you name it.
Exactly. You put on your clothes in the morning, take them off at night.
And again, it's so natural, so effortless.
It is. It's like a hidden code.
A code to unlock fluency.
I love that. Okay, what about pick up? That one's interesting because it can have multiple meanings.
Yeah, you can pick up a book, pick up your friend from the airport.
Right. The context is key.
It tells you what it means.
It's like a puzzle, but a fun one.
It is. Okay, another fun one. Look for. Everyone's always looking for something.
Right. Your keys, your phone, that missing sock.
Have you seen my keys? I've been looking for them everywhere.
Exactly. And it's not just about physical objects.
You can look for a solution to a problem, look for information.
You're right. It's about a search, a quest.
And we're always on a quest for something, aren't we?
That's a great point. Okay, so we've talked about some pretty basic phrasal verbs.
Yeah, just the tip of the iceberg.
But now I want to get into some that add a bit more color.
Oh, yeah, let's spice things up a bit.
Let's express some feelings, some opinions.
Let's dive deeper.
I'm ready. Are you?
Let's go! It's amazing, right, how phrasal verbs can be so simple, but also so expressive.
Yeah, it's like they add this whole other level of meaning.
Exactly. Like give up, for example.
Oh, yeah, give up. We've all been there.
Right. That feeling of, I can't do this anymore.
Like when I tried to make that 3-tiered cake for my friend's birthday, I almost gave up.
Oh, no. What happened?
The first layer, it just collapsed.
Oh, that's frustrating.
It was. I wanted to throw in the towel, but he didn't.
Well, good for you, perseverance. But you see, that's what give up captures, that feeling.
It does. Okay, what about run out of? That seems pretty basic.
It does, but it's not just about having nothing left. It's like there's a sense of urgency.
Urgency. How so?
Like running out of time on a deadline.
Oh, yeah, or running out of patience.
Exactly. Or even running out of gas in your car.
That's a good one. Okay, what about call off? Is that the same as cancel?
Well, they're similar, but call-off is more sudden, more unexpected.
Oh, I see. Like calling off a wedding.
Exactly. Or calling off a search.
Wow. That does add a sense of drama.
It does. It's like everything's changing.
Okay, let's switch gears a bit. What about look after? That seems pretty simple.
It does, but it's more than just watching something. It's about taking care of it,
Oh, like looking after a child or a pet.
Yeah, or even a plant. You're responsible for it.
You're right. There's a sense of responsibility there.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, this one I find interesting. Find out.
Find out. It's like discovering something new.
It is. Like a secret.
Exactly. You can find out the truth, find out someone's secret.
Or find out how a story ends.
Right. It's all about that moment of revelation.
It is. Okay. And speaking of moments, what about work out? Now, that one has multiple meanings.
It does. You can work out at the gym.
Right. Get those muscles working.
Or you can work out a problem.
Find a solution.
Exactly. So versatile, right?
It is. Okay, how about throwaway? It seems pretty straightforward.
It does, but think about it. It's not just about getting rid of something.
What else could it be?
It can be about letting go, like throwing away old ideas, old habits.
Wow, I never thought of it that way.
It's like a fresh start.
I like that. Okay, last one for this round. Catch up. Now, that one sounds pretty social.
It is. It's about connecting with people,
Yeah, like catching up with friends.
Exactly. Or catching up on work if you've been away.
Oh, right. So it can be social or professional.
It can. It's about bridging that gap, whatever it may be.
I like that. Okay, so we've covered some pretty interesting phrasal verbs so far.
We have, and we're just getting started.
I know. Are you ready for the advanced level?
Bring it on. I want to see what other gems we can uncover.
Okay, let's dive in. Okay, so we're back and ready to tackle some advanced phrasal verbs.
The big leagues.
I know, right? But honestly, looking at some of these, I'm a little intimidated.
Oh, which one's got you stumped?
Well, like put up with, for example. It just seems so negative.
It can be, yeah. But sometimes you need to express that feeling, like tolerating something.
Okay, I see what you mean, like putting up with noisy neighbors or something.
Exactly. Or a long commute, or even bad weather. It's about dealing with those less than ideal situations.
Okay, that makes sense. What about bring up? That one seems a bit more, I don't know, delicate.
It is. It's about introducing a topic, but in a smooth way.
So not just blurting something out.
Right. Like if you want to talk about something sensitive, you bring it up carefully.
Right. I get it. Okay, now this one I always struggle with. Back out. Does it always make you sound unreliable?
Not necessarily. It can mean changing your mind, but it doesn't always have to be negative.
Oh, really? How so?
Well, imagine you agreed to go to a party, but then you get sick. You have to back out.
Oh, right. So it's not like you're breaking a promise. It's just a change of plans.
Exactly. It's all about the context.
Context is key.
Yeah.
Okay, what about step up? That one sounds more positive.
It is. It's about taking action, taking responsibility.
Like stepping up to a challenge.
Exactly. Or stepping up to help someone.
Oh, I like that. Okay, take over. Now that one sounds a bit intense.
It can be. It's about taking control of something.
I'm just taking over a company.
Yeah, or even something smaller, like taking over the cooking when your friend's tired.
Right. It's about being in charge. Okay, last one. Break down. That one seems like it has a million meanings.
It does. A car can break down. A plan can break down. Even a person can break down.
Wow. So many possibilities. It's amazing how one phrasal verb can be so versatile.
It is, and that's the beauty of phrasal verbs. They add so much color and nuance to the language.
I totally agree. Well, I think we've broken down quite a few phrasal verbs today.
We have, and hopefully our listeners feel more confident using them.
Exactly. Remember, it's all about practice and having fun with the language.
Don't be afraid to make mistakes. That's how you learn.
That's right. So, to all our listeners out there, keep exploring the world of phrasal verbs. And who knows, maybe you'll even discover some new favorites along the way.
And if you do, be sure to share them with us. We'd love to hear about your phrasal verb adventures.
Until next time, happy learning. All right, let's unlock a superpower everybody uses every day. I mean, who doesn't use language?
You got that right.
And specifically today, we're diving deep into the everyday kind of language, the words and phrases we use to describe our daily routines, like getting ready for work or school, that kind of thing.
It's really interesting how much we kind of give ourselves away just by the way we talk about even something as simple as brushing our teeth.
Right. And the source material that we're looking at today really gets that. It breaks down this daily routine vocabulary by different skill levels, from beginner to advanced, but it goes way deeper than that. It shows how the words we choose actually reflect our mindset and even where we're at with our fluency, right?
Exactly. Just think about it for a second. Like someone who's just starting out learning English might say, I eat breakfast.
Yeah.
But as they get more comfortable, more fluent, that might change to, I whip up a quick breakfast before hitting the gym.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the same action, but the language is so much more vivid and really tells a story.
And that's what really struck me too, like the way this source material organizes everything around morning, afternoon, and evening routines. It's like a roadmap of how our language actually changes throughout the day,
Such a good point. Yeah, it's so smart. I mean, for example, eat lunch is pretty basic, but if you bump that up to network over lunch, that brings a whole different level of intentionality to the table.
It does. It really does. Like the words themselves are like clues about how we approach different parts of our day.
Oh, sure.
So let's get started with those morning routines, right?
Yeah.
What are some of the shifts we see in the language? We go from like a beginner level all the way up to, a more advanced level.
Well, I think when you're starting out, when you're at the beginner level, it's all about just those really essential verbs, right?
Yeah.
Things like wake up, get dressed, have breakfast, those sorts of things. I mean, it's functional, gets the message across, but doesn't really tell us much about the person or their experience, right?
Totally. It's just like the bare minimum. It's like you're filling out a form at the doctor's office.
Exactly.
But then when we get to the intermediate level, that's where we start to see a little more personality come through. Right?
For sure.
Instead of brush teeth, maybe it's brush teeth for 2 minutes or use whitening toothpaste. All of a sudden we get some detail.
Exactly. And those little like additions can reveal a lot about somebody, right? About their priorities, their habits. Are they really all about efficiency, or are they kind of more detail oriented? The language really gives us clues.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Totally.
Yeah.
Okay, but now we're getting to the part that I got really excited about, like the advanced vocabulary. We start to see phrases like start the day on the right foot, or even recharge with a mindful morning routine. Now it's not just about what you're doing, but the feeling behind it, the intention. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And recharge is such a powerful word to use here because it really suggests that a morning routine isn't just a list of tasks to get through, but it's a way to renew your energy, It's a source of energy.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
And, digging a little deeper here, like start the day on the right foot. Yeah. It's not just some random saying.
Yeah, it's interesting.
That actually has roots going all the way back to ancient Roman superstition.
Really?
Stepping out with your right foot first was good luck back then.
Wow. That's so cool. See, even simple phrases, they can have these amazing historical and cultural layers,
It makes you wonder if those ancient Romans, did they have their own version of like a power breakfast or something like that?
Probably. Maybe. Yeah. It's so interesting to think about how language has evolved and adapted over time.
But some core concepts, some things just never change, right?
That's true.
Like the desire for a good start to your day, that's a universal thing,
Right. Absolutely. That's something really important to keep in mind as we go through all these routines. It's not just about the individual, but how the words reflect, broader cultural values.
That's a good question. Now I want to analyze everything I say.
Right. Me too.
Okay. Before we go totally meta here, let's move on to the afternoon routines. What kind of linguistic gems are waiting for us there?
Well, it's interesting to see how the focus shifts as the day goes on, right?
Yeah.
So in the morning, it's all about getting ready, getting energized. And then in the afternoon, the language starts to reflect how we interact with the world, especially in work or professional settings.
Right. It's like we go from eat lunch to grab a quick bite to, like you said, network during lunch.
Exactly. And it's like the pace picks up, the stakes get higher.
Yeah.
It's
almost like a video game or something.
Yeah,
You level up.
That's a great analogy because it shows how our language has to adapt to our changing roles, the different contexts we find ourselves in.
It does.
Even eating is different. It becomes more strategic.
Totally. You're not just eating to live, you're eating to win. But, there's also this interesting thread of recharging that kind of runs through all the afternoon routines.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Like phrases such as take a power nap or recharge with a walk. So we know it's important to keep that energy going.
Yeah, absolutely.
It suggests that we need these intentional breaks.
Right.
It's not just about pushing through,
Right.
You got to take a break. You know what I mean?
I think about my own afternoons and how often I say, I'm going to power through this afternoon slump.
Yeah.
But what I really need is to recharge.
It's like there's this tension between what we feel like we should be doing and then what we actually need to do to thrive.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
And the language helps us kind of figure that out.
Yeah.
I'm curious, when you think about your afternoon routine, what are some of the phrases that come to mind?
Well, I definitely catch myself saying catch up on emails way more than I should. I wish I could get rid of that one. But I also try to say, find my flow when I'm working on a project,
Yeah.
It's like acknowledging that productivity isn't always linear. Sometimes you have to find it.
That's a good one. Find my flow. I like that. So that kind of brings us to a crucial question here. How do these afternoon routines, how do they set us up for a successful evening?
That's a really good question. And actually, I'm already noticing some interesting connections between the way we talk about recharging in the afternoon and the way we describe how we wind down in the evening,
Right.
It's almost like a mirror image. In the afternoon, we're trying to keep that energy up, but then in the evening, it's all about how to restore it. The language totally reflects that shift.
Okay, so let's get into those evening routines. How does the language evolve as we get closer to bedtime? And what does that tell us about what really matters to us, our priorities and mindsets?
Well, like we saw before, at the beginner level, it's all about those familiar actions. Have dinner, watch TV, go to bed. It's all really simple and straightforward, and it's all about our basic needs, right?
Totally. It's like hitting the reset button after a long day.
Yeah.
But when we move up to the intermediate level, things start to get a little more intentional.
Yeah.
We see phrases like spend time with family or read a book or even practice a hobby. you know?
Yeah, that's a really cool shift. It's like now there's this awareness of nurturing our relationships and spending time doing things that bring us joy and pursuing our passions.
Right.
It's about creating a more balanced, fulfilling life.
Yeah, so I bet those advanced speakers, they take that even further, right? What kind of language do we see when people are really intentional with those eating routines?
Yeah, you're totally right. Instead of just saying watching TV, you might hear something like disconnect from screens or engage in mindful relaxation.
Yeah.
And instead of just going to bed, it's prepare for a restful sleep. It's taking those basic actions to a whole new level.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's like the language is guiding us to this more intentional and mindful way of ending our day.
Exactly. And that brings us to a really interesting question. How does the language we use to describe our evening routines, how does that affect how we sleep and even our overall well-being?
That is a good question. It's something I'm going to be thinking about a lot, I think, as we go through this deep dive. But for now, let's take a closer look at those advanced phrases for our evening routines, because I am so intrigued by that contrast between disconnect from screens and engage in mindful relaxation. What do you think the difference is there? Like, what's the significance of those two things?
Yeah, it's such a subtle but powerful shift. I think the disconnect from screens is kind of acknowledging that technology can really mess with our sleep. It overstimulates us.
Right.
And it's like saying that rest is more important. We need to create boundaries,
Yeah.
And then engage in mindful relaxation takes it even further. You're not just avoiding things. You're creating a sense of calm. You're being present. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that shows a deeper understanding of the connection between our mind and body.
It's funny. I'm feeling more relaxed just thinking about these phrases right now.
I know, me too. It's crazy how much of an impact language has on us,
Totally.
It reminds us that even little changes in the words we use can make a huge difference.
This is making me rethink how I talk about my own evening routine, for sure.
Yeah.
But before we go down that road, let's give our listeners a chance to think about this,
Yeah, let's take a breath here. Think about your own evenings, right? What are some of the phrases you use to talk about how you wind down, Do you find yourself using those words that are more mindful, more intentional, or are you more focused on just checking things off your to-do list?
That's a really interesting thing to think about because, sometimes the words we use, they reveal more about us than we think. That's what's so cool about this deep dive into this vocabulary. It's not just about learning new words. It's about understanding ourselves and how we navigate the world, right?
Exactly. It's really amazing how much our language changes as we become more fluent,
Yeah, totally. It's like leveling up in a video game or something.
Right.
Instead of getting new armor, you're getting new ways to express yourself.
Exactly. And it's not just about sounding fancier or something.
Right. It's not about trying to impress people.
Yeah, it's about, being able to really get your thoughts and feelings across with more, more nuance,
Yeah.
more precision.
For sure. And that's something I noticed in this source material too.
Right.
Like even the simplest, most everyday actions, we could describe them in totally different ways depending on how fluent we are.
Yeah, it's true.
Remember how we were talking about eating lunch before? It's like at the beginner level, it's just eat lunch. You're just hungry.
Yeah.
But when you get more fluent, it becomes grabbing a quick bite or even networking during lunch.
And that shift going from eating to networking is so interesting.
I know, right?
Because it shows how much more we understand about like social dynamics and professional etiquette, all that stuff. It's just built right into the language.
Yeah. Right. You're not just refueling your body, you're refueling your connections, your career,
Yeah.
And it's not just about work either.
Right.
Even something like cleaning the dishes can change as we get more fluent.
Oh, for sure. Instead of just cleaning, you might say tidying up or organizing the kitchen, it becomes about more than just chores,
Right. It's like you're not just doing chores, you're creating a space for yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Speaking of creating a space, I'm really interested in how this source material focuses on self-care.
Oh, yeah, me too. I thought that was so interesting.
It's there throughout all three routines, but I feel like it gets more intentional, I guess, as the skill level increases.
Yeah, it's woven into the language, for sure.
Yeah, like, instead of just watching TV in the evening, it's reading a book or taking a relaxing bath.
Yeah.
It's all about recognizing that me time is important.
Absolutely. And I think, as you get to that more advanced level, that's when the self-care becomes even more obvious,
Right? Like people are really starting to own it at that point.
Yeah, totally. You see phrases like practice mindfulness or even engage in self-reflection or prioritize sleep. These things take effort, and they're not always easy, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
But the language is almost like it's giving us permission to slow down, to take care of ourselves.
I love that.
I think it's a message that a lot of people need to hear these days.
Especially these days, right? Everybody's so busy and, we forget about taking care of ourselves.
Yeah, for sure. It's so easy to get caught up in everything and forget about what we really need.
So as we're talking about self-care, it made me think about that word recharging that we kept seeing earlier.
Oh, yeah. Good point.
It was in all three routines, the morning, the afternoon, and the evening. But it had slightly different meanings each time.
It's true.
In the morning, it was like recharging with a cup of coffee.
Yeah, to get ready for the day.
Right, exactly. In the afternoon, it's recharging with a walk or something like that. And then in the evening, it's about disconnecting from screens or engaging in a relaxing activity. It's the same word, but it has all these different applications,
Yeah, it's fascinating. It shows how even though we all need to recharge, we do it in different ways, right? We all have our own ways of doing it.
I wonder if our listeners have thought about their own recharging routine.
Me too. Yeah. Like, what are those moments for them?
Yeah, and how do they describe them, right?
Yeah.
Because even if we don't realize it, the way we talk about those routines, I think it tells us a lot about, what we value, what we prioritize.
It really does. It's like a window into, how we see ourselves, how we see the world.
Speaking of how we see ourselves, I'm curious to hear what our listeners think about this whole connection between language and mindset.
Me too. It's such a fascinating idea, right?
I mean, we've been talking about how our vocabulary can show where we're at with our fluency, how we approach self-care. I wonder if our listeners have noticed other patterns in their own language.
I know, right? Like, are there certain words they use that really reflect who they are or what their goals are, all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, or how their language has changed as they've gotten older. Maybe their perspective on things has changed,
Yeah, definitely.
It's such a cool thing to think about because language is so much more than just a way to, pass along information.
Right. It's not just about, getting the message across. It's how we express ourselves.
It's a way to show our identity.
Yeah, totally.
It really shapes how we see ourselves in the world around us,
It really does.
Which kind of brings up a really big question here. If language has the power to shape our perceptions, can we use it to create the experiences we want? Can we actually, make things happen with the words we choose?
Whoa. That's a big question. That makes me think about all those really intentional phrases we talked about, like setting intentions, or even visualizing success.
Cultivating gratitude.
Right.
Those are all about shaping our thoughts and feelings with words.
Exactly. It's like using words as tools to create a more positive mindset.
Right. It's all about that inner voice.
Yeah, exactly.
And if we can train that voice to be more encouraging, to be more positive, that's got to have an impact on our actions, right?
For sure. It's like we're programming our minds for success just by choosing the right words,
Totally. It makes me think about this quote I read once. The words you speak become the house you live in. It's so true.
Oh, I love that. It really shows how much power our words have,
And it makes me wonder how our listeners are using their words, right? Are they being intentional or are they just letting things happen,
Yeah, are they choosing words that support their goals and their values?
Right.
Or are they kind of letting those negative thoughts take over?
Yeah.
It's something we all need to be mindful of, right?
Totally, because language is such a powerful tool. It can really help us change our lives for the better,
Absolutely.
And as we go through this deep dive, I'm excited to see what else we can learn about how language connects to our everyday lives. Going through all these different phrases about our routines, I've noticed something kind of interesting.
Oh, yeah. What's that?
It's like a shift from focusing on just tasks to focusing on experiences.
You're right. I see that.
Yeah, like at the beginner level, everything's very task-oriented,
Yeah.
make the bed, eat dinner, go to sleep.
Right, like checking things off a list, just getting it done.
Exactly. But then we get to the advanced level, the language gets, more sophisticated, more about enjoying the process.
I like that, enjoying the process.
Instead of just having dinner, it's like enjoying a home-cooked meal or sharing a meal with loved ones. There's more feeling there, you know what I mean?
Absolutely. It's like we're appreciating the experience more.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not just about food either.
Right.
Like even work-related phrases, they change in the same way. At the beginner level, you might say work on a project. But at the advanced level, you're collaborating with colleagues or contributing your expertise.
Yeah, it's about finding meaning in what you're doing, not just getting it done.
And that makes me think about another really cool thing we've seen throughout all of this, mindfulness.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
It pops up in all three routines, but it's really strong in that advanced vocabulary.
For sure.
We see things like take a mindful walk, practice gratitude, even engage in deep breathing exercises. It's like the words themselves are trying to get us to be more present, more intentional.
It's about slowing down, being in the moment.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing to think about how much power our words actually have.
It really is, you know?
I mean, they can change how we think, how we feel, even what we do. So as we wrap up this deep dive into all this routine vocabulary, I want to leave our listeners with one last thought.
Okay, I'm listening.
Pay attention to the words you use.
That's good advice.
Yeah. Pay attention to how you talk about your routines, you know?
Because it matters.
It really does. Because those words, they're more than just descriptions.
They're like a reflection of who we are.
Exactly. They show our mindset, what we think is important, you know, our whole approach to life.
So what you're saying is if we choose our words carefully,
Yeah.
we can change our lives.
I think so. Yeah. I think we can actually create the experiences we want just by being mindful of the words we use.
That's powerful.
It is. So to all our listeners out there, go out and write your own story, you know?
I love that. Write your own story.
Choose your words wisely.
Yay!